Um,
Yeah.
so, I think having coffee before we pod is like got to be a thing now.
It's got to be a necessity.
Going
Because
to-
last time with episode 28 or whatever.
Whatever it was, we went to Vienna.
Vienna.
Yes, did you see that she commented on our?
I didn't. I stay at it. I didn't.
Yeah, no, she did. I responded.
I
to
should. I should get on there and look at it more.
We went to Dutch Brothers this time, though.
Yeah, we went to Dutch Brothers this time. Sorry.
No, you're
We
recording.
forsook you. We're recording.
Hi guys.
The last 43 seconds.
I kind of saw it this time.
Yeah, I know. I figured as much.
What's up?
It's the
nerds?
Nerd Accord!
You have signed on to the Nerd Accord. I'm Dave.
I'm Wayne, and we watched a movie.
We did. The DC animated universe is amazing. It's got more hits than misses, in my opinion, and it outpaces the DC live.
Anything DC has ever done live, like
Right.
all of their stuff, even the good Batman movies that have come out,
Mhm.
all 4 of them. And
Well, 5 if you count 66, which I do.
well, okay, yeah. But Batman and Harley Quinn came out, and it was a great. It was made specifically. I've been saying this since I first saw it. It was made specifically for the fans of both the animated series and Batman '66.
Yeah.
Which, if you listen to us at all, we are fans of both.
Right. There were definitely some really good nods to the 66 Batman, especially when they go to this club for sidekicks.
Yeah, like a henchman club.
Yeah, henchman club.
We basically see every henchman of ever in there from both the animated series and Batman '66.
Right.
Overall, though, if you did watch Batman the Animated Series and you're like Dave and I, and you're an adult now and you have kids, you might want to be careful, cautious of letting them watch Batman and Harley Quinn. There are some adult themes throughout.
Yeah, there's language.
There's language and more bat sex.
More bat sex. Harley and Nightwing get it on.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of hilarious.
Spoilers.
Well, that was in the preview.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was in the preview that...
It was hinted at.
Yeah. Like, it looked like they were just, like, fighting and fell on top of each other in the preview. I didn't actually think that they were gonna,
Right. So...
Overall, I mean, it was a movie that if you didn't have as much knowledge as you or I, it may not be as much fun, to be honest.
I disagree.
It seemed like it had so much, like, just constant throwbacks.
There was constant fan service, yes. Yeah. But I don't think you needed to be a connoisseur of the original Batman stuff in order to get this.
To get it, yeah. But to really, really appreciate it in the way that I kind of fangirled all over it.
Yeah.
To do that, I think you have to have the background. A standalone piece, sure. Better with all the context and flavor, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Did you know that the original Batman the Animated Series was drawn backwards?
How do you mean?
So normally when you draw, you have like a white paper and you add shadow to it.
Yeah.
They started with black paper and added light on top of that.
Right.
So they were literally drawing backwards.
And they actually saved a lot of money on ink because of how dark the series was doing it that way.
But it was also twice as hard to do because you're literally doing everything in reverse, which is your
brain's not made for that when you've been doing this art style this way for so long. But that cartoon is one of the like hallmark pieces of animation.
Easily.
Anybody who's a fan of comic book movies or TV shows or anything, I think, is pretty right there along with that. The Batman the Animated Series is about the best thing since sliced bread.
Definitely the best Joker.
Yeah, Mark Hamill. Batman and Harley Quinn, another thing, we get a villain that don't see too much of.
Oh, Shrub?
Floronic Man.
Oh, right.
Who's Strobe?
Shrub. Mr. Shrub, or whatever his name was in the Shrubby in the Henchman Lounge.
Yeah. But no, the Floronic Man, he's kind of a psychotic male version of Ivy from another dimension.
You know, here's something that I've always loved about Batman the Animated Series is that it took characters that were B or D list villains and made them actually
cool
and actually dangerous. Yeah, Clock King was just a guy who he actually wore his mask was an actual clock.
Yeah.
And it turned him into this like obsessive, a brilliant thinker who ended up becoming a great fighter because he watched Batman and was able to time everything. Mm-hmm. And so he was able to dodge pretty much anything that Batman threw at him because he knew how long each move was going to take.
Yeah. Which is kind of ridiculous.
Intense. Yeah. Floronic Man was one of those B-lister villains back in the day.
Like you never see him, but he's ridiculously powerful. But you never see him. He never made it big, but he certainly made it cool in this.
Yeah, definitely. So they did the same thing that they did before. Kevin Conroy's back playing the voices of Batman, which is great.
Yeah. I don't.
What's his name? Who played?
Nightwing.
Nightwing, yeah, it's the same guy.
It's the same guy.
Forget his name.
Unfortunately, the gentleman who played Commissioner Gordon is no longer with us, so
that's why he wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But the animated series really kind of capped it off with like not really capped it off like it's the end of anything, but I feel like they kind of finally gave us that. What we wanted, the sequel of the series, because it was ended before its time.
I agree.
It was ended mid-season, like season 4.
Well, it changed.
Oh no, it was maybe like season 5 because I think it had 2 of it as the new series,
Batman Adventures.
Yeah, the new Batman Adventures or something like that. And it was the same exact artist, the same style, the same writers, but they were turned darker.
They changed it to more of an anime style.
And it went darker, also. Like, there's episodes where the entire thing is a scarecrow hallucination, Bane, kills everybody.
Right.
And there's just a lot of really dark things that they didn't do in the animated series. I mean, they did some stuff, but it was nothing as dark and brutal as that last bit.
Right. Lauren Lester is back as Nightwing, and we have a new Harley Quinn, which is Melissa Ranch. Ranch, I think. Rauch.
Rauch. She did great.
I
really, really liked Harley Quinn in the movie.
Yeah, she was great.
One thing in particular that I noticed when they did this movie was there's a fight scene near the end between Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and they really kind of went all out in this fight scene. Right. Poison Ivy obviously has her manipulation of plants and control over them that she could have used, but they were not fighting that way. There was no powers involved. And I really liked the fact that these writers and animators took the time to have a woman fighting a woman, that it wasn't just hair pulling and eye gouging. Right. They were blocking, they were throwing hooks and jabs and punches. And, I mean, there was good blocking. And it wasn't just like your typical screaming woman fight, that you see so much of, or hear so much of in today.
So I'm looking through the reviews on IMDb.
Yeah.
And they are, not good.
I told you,
people are not loving it.
If you didn't have the knowledge, I feel like you may not be as into the movie.
I think part of it There's a lot of mentions about the fart jokes.
There's a couple of fart jokes.
And I got to agree that the fart jokes
weren't needed, yeah. I mean, if Harley Quinn just farted once in the Batmobile and that was the end of it, then that would have been better, but they dragged it out. And then they brought it back. Yeah. Two things they should not have done after something they should not have done in the first place.
Right, and
I will agree with that.
That's a lot of the criticism that I'm reading so far is about the fart joke, and I agree.
Yeah.
She farts. Robin's or Nightwing is like, oh, it smells awful, Nightwing, and Batman's like, it smells like discipline.
It's like Alfred taught him some really weird shit growing up.
I guess he did.
Yeah. So overall, if you watched the stuff we talked about before, the animated series Batman 66, you'll love it. If not, you may not like it, but hey, IMDb is IMDb. You are not IMDb. That was adventurous.
That was you are not IMDb.
You are not IMDb. Yeah,
I am so glad that
does not make up your mind for you, fair listener.
I was going to say, I'm glad I'm not IMDb because that's a lot of information.
That's a lot of information. Actually, I kind of...
No. Not as much as IMDb.
Right.
So...
I'm Waynepedia.
Waynepedia? What would you score it?
I don't know. I wasn't planning on giving it a score. I tried to give you a segue. I was like, that's adventurous. But I would give it a score of out of squid, a mouse.
A mouse, really? That low?
Yeah.
I would not think you would give it a mouse out of a squid.
A mouse out of a squid.
My
ratings are never realistic.
That seems low to me. I think you actually enjoyed it more.
I did enjoy it. I actually petitioned to watch this movie with Dave today.
I'm going to give it 27 plant apocalypse.
Oh, yeah?
Plant apocalypse.
27 of them.
27 out of 36. Plant apocalypse.
So that's a heavy 75.
That's a heavy 75. The fart joke kind of took it out,
down.
But to be honest, to have the cat villain or the cat henchman doing the Batusi, that killed me.
That might have been worth everything.
Right. So you tried to give me a segue by saying something adventurous.
The movie was adventurous.
You know what we say about segues. Segues are hard.
Segues are hard.
But yeah,
this one was easy.
This one, sure. This was good. This is a good segue. I think we kind of nailed this one.
We did the gooderest one.
We did the gooderest
Believe
segue.
me.
Wow.
Sad.
So, you nerds out there are not just listening to this podcast. And if you are just listening to our podcast, I'm sorry. Because there's so much better out there.
And we disappoint.
We disappoint everyone, and we're a terrible podcast, to be honest. We do a bad job.
When you said we disappoint everyone, I almost said, oh, yeah, my therapist told me. But I decided to leave that out.
Good job. Good job at leaving that out. And
I'll let them know.
Making sure it was in there.
Let them know that I left it out and then put it in.
Right. One of my favorite podcasts of all time is called The Adventure Zone. And it is a...
Hold on. Dave recommends...
forgot about the theme song.
The theme song. Segues are hard.
This is a Dave recommends. The Adventure Zone is a podcast. It's a D&D podcast, although they're changing the format coming up soon because the game that they were playing is finished, wrapped up. It's a show about a guy and his two brothers and their father. And the guy, Griffin McElroy, who was the DM, Clint McElroy, who is the father, and then Justin and Travis McElroy, who are the other brothers. Now, astute listeners will know those names from My Brother, and Me, which is an advice podcast for the modern era.
For the what era?
Modern era. They always say
that?
modern.
What is it? What is modern? Like modern?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a play. It's just I don't understand it, but
where are they from?
Midwest. I think they're
Midwest
good,
Greece.
They're good boys.
It's an interesting pronunciation.
Here's the thing: there's a lot of articles. The MarySue.com actually has a lot of articles about the Adventure Zone. One of their articles says that is simply why you need the Adventure Zone in your life. There's a lot of talk about representation in the Adventure Zone because, for instance, the one of the main characters is canonically gay, but it's not like he is flamboyant about it. You never actually find out until much later. It's not like it's a focal point of his character. Also, one of the main NPCs is transgendered. There's several gay and lesbian couples. There's also they also try to have as much cultural representation as well as that kind of representation. And they're trying. Like, it's 4 white guys in a room playing D&D, right?
But they're trying to represent.
Well, so it's not necessarily easy, right?
Yeah.
When you and I sitting here talking about cultural issues.
2 white guys in a room.
2 white guys in a room talking about cultural issues. We don't necessarily have the same. We definitely don't have the same outlook on things as, say, an African American, lesbian would. We just don't get that. So they do their best. They respond really well to criticism. Mm-hmm. There's been apparently there's a trope called the kill your gays trope, where there's it's popular in media to kill off homosexual characters, apparently. And they had some NPCs that were lesbians ended up dying at the end of one of the story arcs. And in response to that, they just brought another couple in because, I'm not saying that they're replaceable, but in order to show that, this is not something that we're
getting rid of.
Right, we're not getting rid of it.
We didn't do that to get rid of it.
Yeah. Right, and they didn't even know about the trope. Like, I didn't know about it until I read about it. I didn't know it was actually a thing.
And people are garbage.
Well, yes, they are. But that has nothing to do with the Adventure Zone. The Adventure Zone is pure joy and happiness.
Is evidence of people being garbage.
Yes, I'll agree with you there.
That's what I was talking about.
And it's also evidence of what we were saying earlier, where you and I don't have that cultural experience because we didn't know it existed.
Right.
Just wasn't a thing to us because that's not our culture.
Right.
That being said, we try to be as culturally sensitive and aware as possible. They do the same thing in the Adventure Zone, and they give heavy praise for it, and it's deserved praise. Also, the story is just fan-fucking-tastic. There are 3 main characters. The 3 player characters are Merle Highchurch,
That's great.
a dwarven cleric, played by Clint McElroy, the father. Then there's Travis's character, Magnus Burnsides, who he's a protection fighter. So his whole thing is he just wants to protect everybody.
He's Worf.
He's better than Worf, in my opinion.
Whoa! Blasphemy on the nerd accord.
Here's the thing. I related to this character very well, and he's one that I like emotionally connected with the most. Like Taco's the funniest. He's a yeah.
Is that his name in game?
Taco, Takko.
Of course.
And then there was his quest to actually discover the taco. Like that was a whole thing.
It had to be.
Yeah, but he's played by Justin McElroy, and then Griffin McElroy is the name of the guy who's the NPC or the dungeon master for this game. They meet up to. The story is called the Balance Arc, and
what?
The Balance Arc.
The Balance Arc.
They end up joining an organization called the Bureau of Balance that is trying to capture these 7 artifacts that are so powerful they could destroy the world.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Well, one of them is a gauntlet. It's called the Phoenix Fire Gauntlet.
Nice.
And it can basically turn an entire city into a circle of glass in an instant.
That's always... So the city's made out of sand.
No, but it's turned into sand. It's destroyed that fast.
Anywho.
It just wrapped up with a finale that made me cry in a couple of places. It left me on the edge of my seat in several. Like, this isn't a very just so well written and played game that, like, I wish all of my campaigns were this good, and they had never played before. None of them had. And it's just
they never played before, and they decide to play in a podcast.
Yeah. So here's the story behind it. I believe it was Travis McElroy. They were doing My Brother and Me, which is huge. It's like one of the top podcasts of all time. And he and his wife were expecting a child, and so they decided that they were going to, like, instead of doing their normal advice show, they were going to do something different to give him a break, essentially. And so what they decided to do was get their dad involved and play a D&D game. And it was just going to be like one episode, I guess. But it was so good, like, and so well received, that they spun it off into its own podcast. And
see, D&D has led to some great things. So I'm proud. I haven't listened to any of this in case anybody's wondering. Dave, I'm learning it as much as you are, fellow listeners. And I'd like to point out that D&D really has given us some really great things. Due to conventions of D&D, people have wanted a game to play in between table time, in between campaigns of D&D, and so Richard Garfield invented Magic the Gathering. Right. Dragonlance, my favorite book series of all time, started out from a D&D campaign that was being game tested. And a couple of the game testers wrote novels off of it. So, I mean, D&D is really cool. People don't, I don't think that I think that it has, even today, has a big stigma about it. And I'm actually really impressed that their first game was so well received by a D&D veteran such as my brother. He's played D&D plenty. And that it's their first game. That's pretty impressive.
I'm telling you, this is really something you should check out.
Yeah, I will eventually. I will.
So they just wrapped up the first arc, and now they're posting a couple of live shows that they had performed, because they actually tour this live. So
how do you tour a D&D campaign, though?
Like, do they have?
Do they have like they just do what they had already done, and they do different roles, or they act like the role just happened and that's what they got?
So that would be boring if they did that.
If they did what?
If they did that. So I think what they do is, I don't think they do more than like 1 or 2 shows. And
but
I
it's
think they do.
It's all new material.
Yeah, it's either all new material or they still do the same story for each show, but it's going to be different each time because different choices are going to be made, different roles are going to be made, all of that stuff. It's not as scripted, although they have admitted to occasionally fudging a role, but everybody's done that. I've done it.
I don't know what you mean. Like rolling at 12 and saying it's an 18?
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally didn't roll a 1. Yeah. I didn't get a critical fail.
So, but those are sometimes even more fun.
Like, your fireball accidentally blew off your own penis.
They've done that too. Like, if they rolled low, they'll just, it's a 1. or whatever, just to see what fun thing will happen.
Just to get the critical fail.
Well, they've fudged it both ways.
Yeah.
And as a DM, you have to fudge things a bit. It's just kind of part of the game. So since they finish this up, they're going to spend a couple of episodes doing mini arcs where they're play testing other systems. The next one up is Clint is actually going to DM it, and it's a superhero game that they're doing. So the boys will be playing superheroes, and their dad will be DMing it, which I kind of absolutely love that because it's going to give us some sort of understanding what it was like for them growing up, I feel like.
I feel like it's going to carry over childhood issues, and it's...
And then they're going to do a couple of more arcs just to get an idea of what they want to do next. And then they're going to start a new campaign with presumably a new system, whatever. They said for D&D, they said in their advertising, they have a line that says, it's a D&D podcast where we don't take the rules so seriously because there is a lot of them. and we didn't take the time to learn them.
Or read them all. Because seriously, I mean, those encyclopedias, the Game Master books and the Dungeon Master books.
Here's the thing. I have never played a game straight by the rules. I have always had a homebrew kind of a game.
Yeah, you've played Munchkin with Kian, right?
Yeah.
We've never... We've
never played
it's only rules. Cheating if you get caught. That's in the rules, actually.
It
Munchkin,
is.
So.
But... if you guys get a chance, Adventure Zone, it's on the Maximum Fun Network. If you just Google the Adventure Zone, you will find it.
Dave recommends.
I guess that's the end of Dave recommends.
It doesn't have to be, but
no, it's fine. I really didn't have much else to say except for more oh really God, I was about that close to going into full on fangirl mode.
Well, that's okay. That's why we're here.
No, actually, I think that's okay. I think it's probably better if we move on. Otherwise, I'm just going to tell you all my favorite moments. And then spoilers about the finale, where the one moment that just killed me. It just made me cry bitter tears. I'll tell you about that off the air.
Segue!
Because you guys need to listen to it.
The Adventure Zone. Quit ruining it. No spoilers for Adventure Zone. However... Back
in reality?
I think it was late 70s, early 80s when Bed Edlund created the mighty, marvelous masterpiece of the Great Blue Yonder. If you haven't seen any of the iterations of it, The Tick is fantastic. It's back. It's on Amazon. And it is the third time that they've tried to put some TV time to The Tick.
Right.
First time was animated. We're not really talking about that one this go around.
The Tick started in 1986.
80s.
As a newsletter mascot for the New England comic books chain in the Boston area. And then it eventually became a comic book.
So it's basically a satire take on every superhero that you could ever think of, thrown all together into the same universe, and then lots of laughs. And so what we're doing, I had said before there was 3 different versions now. Amazon is out. Amazon did their own. Dave is a huge fan of the Fox live action Tick with Patrick Warburton, who is the best voice of TV.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we decided that we're going to do something that we're going to call Tick versus Tick.
So, real quick, before we go too much further into this, there are 2 things that people should know about me. One is that I own that.
He likes long walks on the beach.
I do actually. Maybe not long walks. I do like walks.
Medium walks.
Medium walks on the beach.
Yeah.
Short to medium, with a snack in the middle.
Short to medium, the snack in the middle. I think that's bad.
So anyway.
I was going to say you described my genitals, but...
Describe my sex life.
Short to middle, short to medium.
Short to medium with a small short snack in the middle. That's how I gotta go.
That's how I Netflix and chill.
So anyway, I own the original series on DVD. Every time it comes up on Netflix, I binge it, even though I own
action.
it. Yeah. The live action series. It was 9 episodes.
Yeah.
Every time it's on Netflix, I binge it, even though I own the DVDs, because I want to encourage Netflix to keep it on the air, and they never do.
The more exposure it gets, the longer it stays. But
exactly. And I hate remakes. I don't count the live action as a remake of the cartoon, because they're 2 different genres.
2 different mediums.
Right, they're 2 different mediums.
Totally different.
So it's not like they were remaking the cartoon. It's a completely different thing.
Right.
And we've talked about this several times, my dislike for remakes.
For remakes, yeah. So that being said, Amazon is doing a remake.
The Amazon is doing a remake, and I don't hate it.
So far.
I've enjoyed, I enjoyed the 2 episodes that we've seen so far. My thing is that I feel like I'm holding back on just giving in to the series.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't know if it's because it's a remake or if it's because I feel like I'll be betraying my love for Patrick Warburton's Tick. That being said, I really think that doing this Tick versus Tick is going to be super fun.
Yeah. So we watched 2 episodes.
Also, you've never seen the original Tick.
I've never seen the original Tick.
The original live action. So
live action.
So that actually is another thing that we should mention.
I'm probably going to actually be watching more of the new Tick tonight because Wendy and I are watching it. But
that's fine.
What we did tonight is we watched 2 episodes of the Amazon Tick, the new one that came out this year, and we watched 2 episodes of the 2001 Tick from Patrick Warburton. And it's really cool how many lines they lifted straight up from the original live action and just implanted them right into the new Amazon one.
Yeah. No, there's Ben Ugland. He executive produced the original, and it was Barry Sonnenfeld and I forget who the other person was. Who
brilliant minds.
Who wrote it.
Brilliant minds.
Yeah, all around. And Ben Ugland is writing the new series.
Is he credited writer?
Yeah. Huh. I was watching for that.
All right.
So
I didn't realize. I know that I saw him accredited as a writer on the 2001.
Yes, he's a writer on both of them. Which is why, you can
tell.
Yeah, definitely.
He's smart.
So,
and this is something that I've always really liked about the Tick, and I've mentioned it before, is it's situational humor. You don't have a funny joke in a room. You have a funny situation in a room and people react. It doesn't matter how absurd the situation is, because our suspension of disbelief is already there. We're watching a TV show, So you have an absurd situation and have situational humor. The reaction of it, in my opinion, is the best humor that there is.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy does the same thing, and that's why I love it.
So I think we should talk about some ground rules for this. We didn't actually talk about this before, but I think we should.
Are there? Because is it really a versus? Is there going to be a winner in the end?
I think so. Should
we call up Patrick and get him on the show?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. He's involved with the Netflix series. He's an executive producer.
Amazon, not Netflix.
Sorry, Amazon series.
Jeff Bezos, how you doing, buddy?
So
call me.
I don't think we should, because the tone of both of them are very different. Different.
They are. And that was really evident in the first just a few minutes.
Exactly. The whole bus station thing.
Yeah.
So the first one was we'll call it the Patrick. The Patrick. The War Tick.
War Pit. Pat War.
Tick Burton. Warburtons.
Patrick Warburton.
Wow. Okay.
Patrick Warburton.
Yeah. So the Warburton years.
The Warburton years. The Warburton Nips
are very cartoony. It could be lifted right off the comic book page.
Yeah.
Whereas the modern series, and I don't remember the name of the guy who's playing the. I'll look him up. It certainly has a more rounded feel.
Yeah, and it feels like they're going more for a actual dramatic superhero piece as opposed to a giant satire piece.
Right.
And actually, the guy that you're looking up his name, I was reading up some info on him the other day, and he said playing the Tick is the best job he's ever had in his life, and he hopes that we all love it and that it sticks around for a while.
And you know what? Patrick Warburton, in my opinion, this is Peter Serafinowicz.
It's an interesting last name. Yeah.
Serafinowicz. Peter Serafinowicz. Patrick Warburton will always be the definitive Tick for me.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Peter, we'll just call him Peter, because I don't want to butcher his last name anymore, is doing a great job.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that he really captures the spirit of the Tick 100%, like I felt like Warburton did, but he's doing, he's at 98%, right? Especially now that they fixed the suit.
So they did a pilot episode a year ago on this new series that we're talking about. And in this pilot episode, the Tick's chin was uncovered. It was his human chin showing.
Right.
And then the fans kind of...
The suit also had a bunch of, it looked like it
more
was...
form-fitting and not so, angular, right?
Right, and it also looked like it had, actual, chitinous pieces to it. As if he actually had, bug-like... It had showed, maybe veins and whatnot, and it was just... It was weird.
Yeah, so the suit gets changed in the year between the pilot and the rest of the series, which is okay.
And that caused one of the best jokes.
Yeah.
In the new episode.
In the new episodes, because of that situational humor. And it's just the Tick walks up to Arthur, and Arthur kind of questioningly looks at him
for the first time in this second episode.
In this second episode, well, the first time while not being shot glass eyes at.
You'll have to explain that here in a minute.
Well, we don't have to. People can just watch it.
Anyway.
And he tells Tick, oh, Tick, you look different. And Tick just says, thank you.
Which was brilliant.
And exactly.
The costume looks a lot better. It's a darker blue than the Patrick Warburton costume. And it also actually looks like bits of armor.
Yeah.
Whereas Warburton's just looked like it was a second skin.
It was. Maybe it was a second skin. He's a stud.
Yeah. Okay, so costume. Which one wins in costume? Do you think that Patrick Warburton's was better, or do you think that Peter's was better? Pats versus Pete's.
Pats versus Pete's. I don't know. I'm hard pressed. I'm going to say tie.
Okay, so I'm actually going to agree with you.
Tie.
And here's why I'm going to agree with you. Pete's actually looks really good.
Yeah.
Patrick's has the animatronic antennae.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've seen that so much on Pete's.
It's there, but I don't know if it's CGI or animatronics.
For Pat's, it is animatronic. Each one had their own control, and they reacted
right.
Like they were essentially
an emotional awareness key.
Well, they were almost their own character,
and
it was brilliant. It was so well done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a tie as well.
A tie.
Yeah.
Arthur. So far, I really like the Amazon's Arthur.
So the difference here is
like character, not suit.
Well, yeah, no, we're just going to talk about. Yeah, I was going with the character as well.
Okay.
So Amazon's Arthur had a tragic experience as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
The Terror, which is a villain that goes through, has been a part of the mythos for a long time. And is actually in the first 2 episodes of the original series of the Patverse. It's going to be the Patverse and the Peteverse.
The Patverse and the Peteverse. That's weird.
Anyway, in the Peteverse, the Terror dropped all of Arthur's favorite superheroes,
the Flag Five,
on top of his father.
Yeah,
and killed him
after they were blinded with weaponized syphilis.
Right. So
weaponized syphilis.
He's sitting here watching as the ship that has his favorite superheroes in it crashes onto his father, killing his father.
Yep.
Then his favorite heroes come out, and they're dying of this weaponized syphilis. And then the Terror comes over, sits across from him. It's like, yeah, that's a pretty shitty scene over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, suck it up, kid, or I forget exactly what it says.
I'll tell you.
Because it's been a while since I have seen it. And then he, steals his kid's ice cream.
Actually, Wendy and I, my girlfriend and I, say this to each other, what the Terror said to him.
What did he say?
He goes up to the kid and he's like, hey, kid, what is that behind your ear? And he reaches behind his ear and brings nothing back, and he goes, it's nothing. You got nothing, kid. And that's what he says. You got nothing, kid. And so we say that to each other every now and again because we're demented people like that.
Right. Because you guys almost speak exclusively in quotes.
Yeah.
If it's not IT crowd or Star Trek
quotes and Star Trek quotes, it's true. Yeah. It's actually really, really true.
So, the modern Arthur, he has some mental disabilities, disorders. He actually thinks that the tick might be
him.
It might be his imagination at one point until his sister sees him as well and can confirm that it is not imaginary. And I think he's fine. I think he's a good... he's this timid guy who's trying to, all of a sudden he's thrust into this world that he's can't really control. But I'm not going to say that he's my favorite of the two. The original series Arthur, he chooses to be a superhero.
From the get-go.
Right.
Before he even meets Tick, he's going to work in his office job wearing his flying moth suit.
Right, whereas the Peteverse Tick...
The Peteverse.
He... the Tick steals the suit and basically forces Arthur to wear it.
Yeah.
And Arthur is trying
Enough of your small, hot bullets.
Arthur is trying to prove that the Terror is still alive. But everybody thinks he's been dead forever.
Because Superior punched a crater into him, and his teeth were found in a wall.
Yeah.
Because supervillains never have ever done anything crazy as tearing their own teeth out to remain hidden.
Yeah. exactly.
Nothing like that. No superhero would ever do anything like that.
So,
or falsify dental records.
Right. So he's this broken character who's being thrown into it pretty much against his will.
Yeah.
Whereas the tick from the Patverse, he's all in from the get-go. He's like, this has been my destiny, and I'm gonna be a part of this.
Being a superhero is hard work, but I'm gonna do it.
But I'm gonna do it because yes, I am. And
yep.
One of the great scenes of that first episode is, what's his name?
Batman. Well,
no, Lloyd. He played Doc Brown in.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd is in this as Mr.
Arthur's
Fishladder.
Boss, Mr. Fishladder.
Right. And Arthur is an accountant. And he comes out, and Arthur is sitting there doing his accountant work in his moth costume. And he sits down, and he says, he's like, my time costs $17 a second. I want you to explain this to me, and I want it to cost less than $1,500. Go! And Arthur's trying to explain to him why he's...
In less than a minute.
Right. We explain to him why he's dressed up in this costume, and everybody keeps mistaking it for a bunny outfit, which is hilarious.
He's a moth. Come on, buddy.
And Fishladder fires him at the end because he's like, you're either a guy with a job or you're an idiot in a bunny suit. And ends up being an idiot in a bunny suit.
At a bar shortly after that.
And that leads to one of the line that you just busted up. He's getting drunk talking to the bartender.
Yeah.
And he's just pounding him back, talking about how, he's never flown before, but he can. And
oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember laughing a lot.
Okay, so he's like, I'm gonna try it tonight. And he hits his chest, the button on his chest, and the wings pop out. And then she looks at this other old drunken superhero, and she says, I think he's going to fall down a lot and die.
See, it's the a lot part.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like the clever words that are thrown in that just make it
right. Isn't that
just make it flavored?
So good.
It's like, here's a steak, but also here's a steak that's broiled and has salt and pepper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he ends up having some second thoughts and some doubt. And the tick uses a great analogy on him, saying, Destiny dressed you this morning, and if you're going to let fear undress you, and if you keep this up, fear's going to be standing there laughing at your dangling unmentionables. Like, obviously, I'm not giving the line justice, but that's fine.
But is great.
Right. So, Arthur,
you were undecided.
I'm not undecided. I'm going with the original. Arthur,
you got the Patverse.
The Patverse Arthur as being the better Arthur. But I do enjoy this new take on the Pete versus Arthur.
There are a few characters we can't give full verses on. Dot. We can't give full verses yet.
Dot does show up in the original, but I think if we do villains and then like just supporting cast.
Yeah.
And I think that should be good.
Terror, I'm a huge Jackie Earl Haley fan.
Me too.
So the new tick, the Pete verse Terror is way better than the old, I'm
going to agree with you.
The old Terror the old Terror is pretty scary. He's a pretty scary old man. He reminds me of that ghost possessed granny on Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters,
right?
And that's horrible.
So for those of you who haven't seen it, the original Tick has the Terror shows up, and he's a
Really old.
mainstay in the Peepers. He is super old. Like the Tick gets his phone number and prank calls him so that he can come and fight so that they can get into a fight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just took my drowsy pills because he's like. He was 112, I think he said.
Yeah, something like that. It's something ridiculous.
And
he basically just messes with the old guy until he has a heart attack, and then and then he's like, "Well, it wasn't the best plan, but it worked," or something like that. It wasn't plan A, but it worked.
Right.
Oh my god.
Then he does have like the best insult that I think I've ever heard.
Who, the Terror?
The Terror, the Patverse Terror.
Uh-huh.
He says, "I'm going to fold you into my wallet and spend you on a whore." I'm like, damn, that is cold.
I'm going to have to pick that one up and carry it around.
Right? It's totally worth carrying.
So, I don't think there's any more verses that we can cover. Right now, I can't say which one I like more. Dave, I think, is going to stick to the original.
I'm still leaning towards the original,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give the new one a chance. The reason why I'm sticking with the original, though, is because I've been watching this for 16 years. The original came out in 2001.
Yeah. And because Patrick Warburton's so pretty.
And Patrick Warburton is so pretty. And honestly, like, even his face and his voice pretty much just sums it up. Yeah. I love I think I like the supporting characters so far better in the Patverse.
Oh yeah.
There's Captain Liberty and Batman.
So in the Patverse,
yeah.
Does the Chameleon guy ever show up?
No, sadly no.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So my favorite line out of any of these ever. The animated, the live actions, any of it, is when the Chameleon and the Chameleon, Lady Liberty, and Deflator Mouse.
She was American
Made, and Deflator Mouse, right. And the Tick and the Chameleon are all fighting some villain. And the Chameleon, he literally has the abilities of a chameleon. He can change color, and he jumps onto a plaid surface, and he's like, "Can't do plaid," and then he falls down unconscious.
That is,
I've been waiting for something like that to happen. You can't do plaid.
So hopefully we can get that in the new series.
Hopefully it happens in the new series, right. And then it'll be forever the best Tick ever.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. So we did 2 episodes of each. We've got like 7 more of one series, and like 5 more of the other.
Yeah, the Amazon, the Patverse is going for 10 episodes, and the Peepverse is going for 10 episodes. The Patverse has 9 total. So we can go for 9 episodes doing this combat. Right. So for you, it's up in the air. For me, I'm leaning towards the original, but I'm definitely giving this remake a chance. I actually am enjoying it.
It's good.
But there is something that's holding me back. So
Tick versus Tick wrapped up.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think we did well on that one.
Next segment, next time we'll have some more continuation of that. But another Netflix. We mentioned Netflix earlier.
Oh, we did. Accident.
But it was accident. Now we're on to Netflix. A few things that we wanted to talk about. The MCU Netflix universe.
We finally got the Defenders.
Whatever it is. Yeah, we finally got the ending of Phase 1.
Yeah.
And it was a long road, and it was obnoxiously long.
5 seasons.
It was like a crazy wait ever since Daredevil season 2 came out, and we knew that that Jessica Jones was on the horizon, that all these were going to come together. It felt like it's been forever to me.
Yeah, it's been a while,
and it was totally worth it. I've seen a lot of reviews saying that it was a terrible thing. that the fighting is still terrible, that Daredevil put it all to shame. Well, yeah, maybe Daredevil did put it all to shame with the fighting. But Daredevil was
choreography is
above and
pretty
beyond. I mean, you got to go to things like, you know, the fight choreographers have been doing it for 30 plus years in China before you can find anything that's comparable in the fight scenes.
I still say the hallway fight scene in the first Daredevil season is still the best fight scene out of everything, and that
out of cinema, period, or out of just MCU?
Out of this series. And Iron Fist should have blown that away. But we'll talk about that.
There was some stuff that we were going to talk about with Iron Fist.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
So,
what did you think of the Defenders?
It was everything that I had hoped for.
There you go.
And you know, Alexandra Sigourney Weaver. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, honestly. Sigourney Weaver is like, she scares me. She is one of the few people I am unashamed to say that she frightens me. She has so much power in her presence, and just the way that she exudes confidence. So
see, you're scared by it. I'm totally turned on by it. Love
she's a villain though in this. She's scary.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Well, Dave would go dark side. I would go after Jessica Jones. She's more my thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's just, no. It's fine though. Mom says hi. But there's one scene in particular that I do want to talk about that I am going to give a little bit of a spoiler on. And that's one of the first scenes that the first time that she interacts with any of the Defenders. Danny Rand is thinking that he's, you know, throwing around his white boy privilege. I'm rich and I can shut you dick guys down. And she walks up behind him and puts her hand on his shoulder right as he says, "You people are the hand." And right when he says that, she puts her hand on his shoulder. Very, you know, that's super alliterative. And he asks her who she is, and she goes, "I'm in charge. But go on. You were going to tell us what you were going to do." And it was just like, there's that moment of oh my God.
So the background here is he decides he's going to try to shut down the hand the quote-unquote legal way.
Yeah, because he has his rich privilege.
Right, because he has this company and he has all this. And he just walks into the boardroom of the hand, like all these hand members are sitting there, and he's like, "Yeah, I know you guys are the hand. I'm shutting you down. It ends right now." And she just walks up.
I'm Danny Rand.
Yeah, she just walks up, puts her hands behind him, and says, "Yeah, I'm in charge, and you're fucked."
Yeah.
And then she kicks his ass. Everybody's kicks his ass.
But she actually alludes to at one point that she has killed an Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
So, that whole double-fisted Iron Fist from the 40s that we saw in the Iron Fist series, maybe that's where he met his fate, was Alexandra.
Right.
But more than, I don't think there's much that we can say about the Defenders as far as like negative or anything like that. But there was a lot that went on just before it.
Well, I'm just going to say real quick that, like you said, the weight was definitely worth it. Mm-hmm. I almost said the worth was definitely weight it.
Well, that too.
Yeah, the weight was definitely worth it, and the Defender series was everything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It could have gone another couple of episodes. I would have been happy with that. They kept it at 8 episodes. There's been some criticism about them doing 13 episodes,
right?
For the season. They left me wanting more, and that's a good place. And that's what we'll say about that.
Yeah.
A lot of people had. Definitely watch it.
There's more on the horizon.
Yeah.
They're obviously planning Daredevil season 3. And Jessica
there was a
Jones
spoiler
season
for that,
2.
or a setup for that.
A setup for that
and,
for sure.
And Jessica Jones. End. And watch after the credits of the last episode because there is a preview for Punisher.
Right, which I actually didn't watch because I'd already seen it on YouTube's.
Right.
But, so 5 series, 1 bad egg. And it's not even that bad of an egg.
A lot of people had issues with Iron Fist. The story was slow and whatnot, and I can see where their problems were.
And a lot of back and forth. Like it was like a tennis match.
Right. And he's just walking around expecting people to understand what Iron Fist means when, like, obviously nobody is going to know.
Right. I think where I had a major problem with Iron Fist was that this guy, he looks like a full-grown adult, but he's acting like such a child all the time. And he really was, like, whoever...
Yeah.
And I mean, they might have done that on purpose. They probably did because they wanted to have a character with growth and not giving us a complete character to start with. But you don't have to make him such a Riker.
Okay, so I think the reason...
that's right, a Riker.
Yeah, I hear you. I get what you're saying. I think the reason why they did it is they had, like, 2 characters that are super broken in Daredevil and Jessica Jones. You have Luke Cage, who is super idealistic, but also a very broken character. I think they were trying to give somebody who had some naivete and some childlike innocence to kind of inject that in.
Yeah.
Also, he's got like a 5th grade education. Like he was.
That is true.
Like, and that's
very
pretty much
true.
it. And so I understand why they did it, but I think what they should have done was more of a kung fu mastery kind of like, they seem like they tried to do that a few times, but he should have been like a source of wisdom, not a source of like childishness.
Yeah, I could see the point of him having a 5th grade education, but then from that point on, he was raised in Buddhism, and he should have been far more mature.
Yeah.
Earning the mantle of the Iron Fist. He should have been able to come back and been, very similar to Stick in his wisdom and, maybe not in his killing, but,
in his assholishness.
Right. But a lot of what I see the problem, a lot of what people have had a problem with is, this character, Iron Fist, he's a white guy in a role that is clearly martial arts based and clearly based in kung fu and all that stuff. And, a lot of people are complaining. I've seen, not maybe a lot, but I have seen some complaints that they didn't change his character from being a white guy to an Asian guy. Totally get that. They had the opportunity. They could have done it. They should have done it, maybe. But the fact of the matter is that this series has honestly gone a long way to repair how awful and stereotypical the Iron Fist comic book was when it first came out. Because it was pretty full of stereotypes. And it was driven on stereotypes.
Right.
And so the distance that they've gone with it, I think, speaks a lot to them trying to repair it. And they made... instead of, changing Iron Fist so much, they took a character, Colleen Wing, who is a secondary background character in the comic book.
And who is very white.
And made her an incredible main character in Iron Fist. Mm-hmm. The show was called Iron Fist, but it could have been called Colleen Wing. And in Defenders, she continues to be the badass with the sword
Well, yeah,
with the katana. She's right on par with the rest of the defenders.
She's as much a defender, honestly, as any of the others.
Absolutely. Her and Claire both. And I do see it. This is not, I would completely and totally never say, that an Asian American with an opposing view of mine was wrong, but I think that it did go a long way to repair that besmirchment upon Asian culture with the original Iron Fist.
Yeah. Again, two white guys,
talking from a position of privilege, of disgusting privilege. But they did the same thing with Luke Cage. It was driven off of stereotypes in the comic.
Oh God, yeah.
And the TV show was just a masterpiece, just amazing. I can't praise that series enough. I've watched it like 3 times.
There's a lot of people it's their favorite.
Yeah.
I did a thing.
You did a thing.
Yep. I actually plotted what I thought would be the ultimate Iron Fist season 1.
Okay.
And this is how we still keep it at 13 episodes. But here's how I think it could have gone, right? So, episode 1...
Storyboard.
Yeah. Episode 1, plane crashes.
Uh-huh.
Parents are killed. He's found by the monks. He's taken to Kunlun. End of the episode, you see Kunlun, right?
Uh-huh.
He's taken in. We have, 5 episodes of him training in Kunlun, right? Actually in the city.
Right.
In another dimension, right?
Yeah.
Learning Kung Fu instead of just...
It maybe, even at that point, would it be a 5 episodes of, a year an episode?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Show him growing up in Kunlun. Show him learning Kung Fu. Show him getting his ass kicked. And show him kicking ass.
And not just a 10-year-old getting beat by a grown...
Beat by sticks, yes.
Yeah, beat with sticks by grown men.
Which, you could have kept that in there. It was fun.
You could have kept it in there.
But we go through him growing up there, at least 5 episodes of that.
Mm-hmm.
Learning Kung Fu, fighting every episode. There should be one episode that doesn't have a shit ton of martial arts in it, and it should have been the first one. And even then, we should see some shit ton of martial arts in it. Just not him.
Just in the opening.
Yeah.
The opening sequence.
Right. This movie should have been a 13-hour Kung Fu flick, which it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, now we're up to episode 6. Let's go episode 6 and 7, all right, are the tournament that Danny Rand has to fight in order to win the privilege to face Xiaolo the Ever-Living.
The Undying.
Undying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Mumra was the
Xiaolo the Undying.
Yeah, Xiaolo, you're right. Mumra was the Ever-Living. That's a different character all entirely.
Undead, whatever.
Yeah. So, 2 episodes of the tournament, and keep people on the edge of their seats. A couple of fights he might lose, but he pulls out a win somehow, and then he wins the right to face Xiaolao, and then we get 1 episode entirely of him fucking punching a dragon to death. 1 episode. I wanted that
him punching
so
a dragon
bad.
to death.
That is the one thing that I wanted out of this more than anything, to see him fucking punch a dragon to death with his bare hands, and we didn't get it.
But he even in the comics, I don't know if that's what he did.
Yes. He had to kill the dragon and then plunge his fist into the dragon's molten heart in order to gain the power of the Iron Fist. Why didn't we get that?
They talk about it briefly in the Defenders. They talk about it periodically throughout Iron Fist.
The last episode of Iron Fist,
we see the dragon.
No, we don't even get to see the dragon. We just see eyes.
No, you
glowing
see
eyes. No,
he comes out of the...
No, all we saw was glowing eyes. Watch it again because I always saw his glowing eyes.
Look it up.
But one episode of him fucking punching a dragon to death. Okay? So now we're at episode 7. No, 8, because 7 was him punching a dragon to death. Episode 8, we're not even back in New York yet. Episode 8, he is guarding the entrance to Kunlun. He's been doing it for like 5 years at this point, right?
Right.
Because he is, right?
I really feel like that. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
The city comes back. It shows up on the earthly plane again, right?
Uh-huh.
And Iron Fist, he's like, "Hey, we're back for the first time in a while. Like, I'm gonna check out the wreckage of the plane where my parents died, because he remembers where it's at, right? He goes there and finds evidence that the Hand killed his parents. Like, oh fuck, the Hand is evil. We know that, right? Or maybe the elders of Kunlun had this knowledge, right? They had evidence showing that his parents were killed by the Hand, and he finds it, and he's like, oh shit, now I gotta go.
Why didn't you tell me?
Why didn't you tell me? Now I gotta go back to New York and kill the Hand. Right? Instead, in this series, he saw an eagle, and that thought it was a sign that he had to go back. I'm like, that's bullshit.
It was a sign. I knew the pass was open. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
It was. Because it was one of the weakest, like, contriving of stories that they've had in a long time.
So he finds out that they're hiding the fact that his parents were killed by the Hand. He gets pissed off. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm out. I'm gonna go avenge.
I'm taking this Iron Fist with me.
I'm gonna go avenge my parents and fucking kill the Hand. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Right? So he goes back to New York. We spend one episode. We're up to episode
like 8 or 9.
We're at episode 9 now. That one episode, he travels back. We spend one episode confirming his identity. That's it. We only need one.
Not 4.
Instead of, it was even more than that. It was half the season. It was him confirming his identity. He walks in the building. He presses his thumb on a fucking thing. He's like, hey, you guys have my thumbprint, obviously. Like, I was a billionaire 10-year-old, right? Of course my fingerprints are on file somewhere.
In the system.
They're in the system. The police have them. The FBI have them.
Could afford
the
dentists.
CIA have them. Dental records are a thing, but then, Kung Fu.
Yeah, there was the X-ray also, the Kung Fu X-ray fire.
Well, I mean, dental records, like, he could have his jaw broken 100 times in Kung Fu. Whatever. But my point is that, everybody is going to have identifiers.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be on record. He was a fucking rich white kid. Of course.
He was on record.
Of course they're on record.
Yeah.
So you spend one episode proving his identity.
Yeah.
Then now you've got, you're into episode 10. You have 10, 11, 12, and 13. That's 4 episodes of him being in New York.
Rooting out the Hand in New York.
Right. Okay, so yeah, you could have condensed that entire, what's his name is
Davos?
No, he's dead, but he's actually running the company. Everybody thought he was dead, like Uncle Mitchum or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter because he was a dumb character anyway. That all could have been condensed into 4 episodes, but those 4 episodes are fucking him finding members of the Hand and just kicking their asses.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with him going up against Madame Gao.
Yeah, and he might have got his ass handed to him though.
Well, that the tournament that happened. In order to save some child or something.
Right.
Save some woman. That could have been like the final episode, and it could have been like a huge drawn out thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just like half an hour.
I did feel like that tournament should have been a lot bigger
Lot longer.
part. A much bigger part. So, here's the thing, is that Marvel, the Netflix Marvel universe, they, I think, if they're going to keep doing things like Iron Fist and the touchier subjects, they need to find some better methods, or find people who are closer to the real world iteration of what they're trying to write, maybe. Because I hear they're trying to do possibility of Moon Knight, which, if we all thought that Iron Fist was an obscure character and was hard to do, then Moon Knight is, like, impossible.
Because that's
way beyond
deals
hard.
with some serious mental illness, multiple personalities.
Deals with not only that, I mean, you're walking the line there, but then there's also the fact that this Jewish guy is empowered by an Egyptian moon god. The Egyptians enslaved the Jews for 400 years. There's a bit of a problem some people have with the whole concept of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it's
definitely,
done.
Definitely, if it happens. But, I mean, slippery slopes, Marvel. But I hope they do it, and I hope they do it well.
So I think that's unless you have anything else to talk about, I think that's pretty much it.
No, I didn't record.
You liar! I'm watching it.
Yeah, just
I've been watching it.
Dave and my pranks, still a better love story than Twilight.
That's terrible, but I love it. Good night, folks. See you next time.
Or not.